and we are right now on the multi-cloud, cloud-native, and AI panel discussion. On the topic, multi-cloud and cloud-native pave the way for AI. We're looking at AI-powered multi-cloud strategy, modernizing information architecture, Kubernetes, and cloud-native technologies. We're looking at talking about the challenges and solutions for hybrid multi-cloud, and a blueprint for successful application modernization. Well, we have with us our panelists, Lokesh, Chauhan, Chief Technology Officer, Eros now. Well, Lokesh, a technocrat with successful entrepreneurial experience, a thought leader with experience of strategic planning, product scoping, team building, and planning scaling with architecture decisions. Lokesh is with somebody with over 10 years of experience overall. He's been a technology leader, having been associated with companies like Paytm, Zomato, and Vibaro in the past. Being at the quality tech focused companies, he's somebody who's developed a sharp understanding of the large-scale technology platforms and the e-commerce industry. Well, joining Lokesh would be Tushar Vohra, Chief Technology Officer, Z5. Well, Tushar, with over 19 years of experience in digital consumer products, he has sector diversity across media, fintech, e-commerce, travel, and gamification. Well, Tushar has been spearheading innovation and development in various organizations. His roles including new development, solutioning, data and service security, vendor management, infrastructure management, service uptime, automation, innovation, and talent retention. Joining Tushar also would be Surya and Narayan Singh, Head of Cloud, NPCI. Surya brings with him 19 plus years of experience in IT, infrastructure domain, private and public cloud, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, virtualization, UNIX, Unix, storage, and clustering. Well, Surya is responsible for design and implementation of cost-effective solution to achieve reduced TCO for disaster recovery, data center consolidation, and server virtualization, Veritas cluster as well. We also have joining Surya and the other esteemed panelists of ours, Vish Phaneendra joining us, who's the Head of Solution Engineering South Asia VMware. Well, Vish is responsible for leading the solution engineering and customer success organization for cloud native initiatives in the Southeast Asia and India. With over 17 years of experience, Vish works with the enterprises to embrace the digital future so they can win in a software-driven company. Well, his mission is to enable enterprises to achieve greater business agility and innovate at startup speed by pairing modern agile methodology with the next generation cloud and AI technologies. Also, we're going to be joined by Krishnan Venkateswaran, Chief Digital and Information Officer, Titan. Krishnan is an alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Kolkata, and his experience spans technology consulting, transformation, and leadership roles. Well, Titan is reinventing itself as a phygital organization, one that seamlessly combines the best of physical and digital products and services to deliver truly new age experiences, and Krishnan is excited to be a part of this journey. This entire panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be moderated by, once again joining us today, Amit Varma, Executive Director, DBS Bank. Well, Amit, being the Executive Director with the DBS Bank India, also acts as a Group Business Head and Head of Technology with the Tech and Ops Group. Over a career spanning 22 plus years, Amit has positively influenced the financial services industry as a technology pioneer, business leader, organizational builder, innovator, digital transformation catalyst, leading technology functions across US, Europe, and India. So ladies and gentlemen, now presenting to you on your screen are these eminent panelists who joined us on the World Cloud Show. Over to you, Amit, for taking it forward with your panel today.
Thank you, Bhavna, for those kind words. Thank you. And to welcome everybody to this great discussion panel. Really looking forward to it. We have an esteemed panel, and thanks for joining. So let's get started, as they say. So why don't we start off, maybe Krishnan, with yourself, right? Krishnan, from your perspective, right, could you give us a view of, how do you see in your organization, right, the approach towards cloud and AI? Is it veering towards multi-cloud? Is it going towards cloud native? And if you could maybe, from your own industry, give us some specific example, that'd be great as well. Please, over to you, Krishnan. Krishnan, you're speaking on mute here.
Yeah, unmuted now, yes. So thank you.
Perfect.
And let me just quickly give a perspective on AI in Titan, and perhaps it will also resonate with the industry itself, right? So as many of you would be aware, we are India's largest lifestyle products retailer. We have, I think by the end of this year, we'll have 20 million customers in our loyalty database, right? Not all of them are active, of course, but many are. And they've been kind enough to share their details with us over the last, I think, 8 years. So we have millions of customers every year on our web as well as in our stores. And we have or will have, I think, 1,900 stores by the end of this year, probably higher. Again, I won't get into the pandemic. I think we can keep talking about it to the exclusion of everything else. So just talking normal business, right? So we have multiple manufacturing locations as well. So the applications of AI in our enterprise range from analytics-driven personalization. How do I actually get to the holy grail of n is equal to 1? To be able to make, for example, each one of you exactly the right offer for yourself, or maybe something you would like to buy for your spouse, right time, right offer. So that's a known area. I'm sure all my esteemed co-panelists as well as many members of the audience know about it, right? So we do very carefully and continuously collect information with our customers' consent, record it with due privacy and all other controls, but obviously use it in order to create these offers through targeted campaigns as well as calls on the store. That's one big area in which AI is helping us, right? Another area which we are looking at is in manufacturing itself. So vision control and so on and so forth. So we are embarking on the industry 4.0 journey. And so therefore the applications of AI, again, I'm sure are well known and being written about more and more, right? In the area of IoT, vision control, robotics, and so on and so forth. Another very big area for us, right? When it comes to security in our stores itself, we are investing in devices that have AI models in the store, on the store's network, which have been trained centrally but pushed to the edge. And these devices enable us to enhance our security controls based on the camera feed analytics. That's almost real time. So these are three major areas I could go on, right? But as you can see, there's a wide variety here. It's consumer facing, centralized. It is store security, edge, and it is manufacturing in terms of controlling robotics. And in fact, we have implemented AI in design as well. We have something which we believe to be the world's first. It's actually a system that generates new watch designs almost 1 per second. So it's not a new watch designer in the sense of producing something that doesn't exist, but it can actually interpolate, let's say, 4 successful watches and come up with a very pleasing combination. And so therefore it helps refresh our product line. So even in the area of product design, we are seeing the applicability of AI. I hope that answers what you're looking for, Amit.
Yeah, no, that's a great introduction into the leading, to the panel. So thanks for that insight, Krishnan. Thank you very much. Lokesh, if I may now, veer off to yourself, right? Lokesh, from your perspective, right? Maybe you could give us some inputs in relation to, from a cloud perspective, right? Being there in charge of the technology group for Eros now. How does the cloud journey play into your into your offerings and or your products, and B, how does that tie with your, how have you been able to tie that with your cloud versus with your AI? So this is the amalgamation of the two, because that's really is a crux in itself to solve. Please, over to you, Lokesh.
Sure. Thank you for the invite on this esteemed panel. I'm thrilled to represent the group. Eros Group has been a pioneer and part of taking Indian content abroad. As part of that journey in 2013 is when Eros now as a digital offering of Indian content for streaming came into existence. I have been associated with more than 2.5 years, and it was always a cloud native option. So it was not like there was a transformative journey. The group on a whole identified the cloud as future. The streaming is the way how people are going to go about consuming things, and the intelligence that is there inherently as part of the promoter group has enabled us to take more what you would say cutting edge solutions into play for enabling this experience for the consumers. So we are currently serving 200 million plus registered users worldwide. We have around 35 million paying subscribers across our direct B2C and a B2B2C sort of mechanisms of payments. This basically results in a huge amount of data coming in, and to understand this huge amount of data, cloud has been extremely cost efficient and what you would say helpful approach on how do you handle such a ginormous storage requirement. A traditional approach would have had more what you would say choke point issues that we don't get into. Specifically around how AI comes into picture for us, we look at whole machine learning and AI bit specifically around problems of a recommendation for users, personalizing on basis of what they intend to watch next, basis of their historical context, and also understanding where they're coming from, what the nature of devices, and how we can ensure we serve best quality experience for them. That basically comes down to the fact that if there is what you would say older audience versus newer audience, how to cater to doing tasteful approaches of short form content versus long form content onto their interfaces. This also comes into picture for us on AI part for doing churn analysis, because the subscription services obviously have this inherent problem of people not finding what they are looking for, and they are trying to look outwards, and then essentially they lose interest in interaction with the platform itself.
Sure.
So churn analysis is definitely one of the bigger concerns to understand how to keep people engaged, how to ensure they're brought back into if they are kind of dropping off from the platform, identifying if there is performance or any sort of other issue that we are not able to cater to by default. AI definitely helps a lot in understanding their overall engagement behavior and putting them into identifiable segments, and then doing some sort of correction measures around it. The last part is definitely we do intend to look at our video stream performance metric very, very strongly, because that's the base business. I mean, if you are solving all other problems, but the video stream isn't playing nice, that is it. I mean, you are not going to have a pleasure experience of, a paid subscriber. So that's where AI definitely is coming in very, very strongly. We are looking at adding more and more CDN partners and doing dynamic switching on basis of the AI rule engine, which does this dynamic switching. These are some of the cases that we believe from user experience engagement standpoint, this comes into a picture. The other aspect of cloud definitely helps, compliance with GDPR and other going forward scenarios. People, countries are trying to put in more and more data privacy specific laws. So cloud gives us very fine grained control on part of who has access to what resource set, who is accessing what at any point of time. So that auditing, logging, and monitoring is an aspect where cloud specific tools are very, very nuanced. You having those tools at hand saves you a huge amount of manpower requirement to just do monitoring.
Sure. Sure. Great. Thanks for those insights there, Lokesh, into how the consumer journey is directly impacted by both cloud and AI in your case, right? And how you're also internally utilizing that to give you insights in relation to audit and compliance, all of those rich metrics that you talked about. Thanks for that insight there, Lokesh. If I may now go over to Surya, right? Surya, from your perspective, being at the helm of an organization which is right at the crux at the national scene, right, and also to a certain extent being able to influence national policy in this regard. How do you see the entire cloud and AI paradigm enmeshing itself and playing out, Surya, based on experiences, please?
Sure. Thank you, Amit. Uh, yeah, I would like to share a very interesting incident which happened with NPCI, or rather with the nation, right? We all are aware 8th of November 2016, government announced demonetization, right? And after that, everything is history. We know it.
Sure.
So instead of going into the political one, what NPCI have been tasked to do, right? NPCI was on the job way back from the 2013. So rupee has been induced. It has been initially given for the urban and the rural area people, right? But the interestingly, what happened in the first week of August, we got a mandate from PMO that you need to come with a digital payment system within 2 weeks time. And 2 weeks time, you can understand it's a financial organization. We need to take care of all security, compliance, and plus that functionality should be so easy so that the auto wala guy can pay 10 rupees or rickshaw wala guy can also transfer money, kind of that. That was the mandate. And interestingly, 2-3 months back, NPCI have kicked off its journey to test the water for the cloud. Though it was a private cloud, but that was coming into the safe, and it was initially meant for non-production workload. But with this mandate, possibly it was explored that only cloud is a solution to do this one in this 2 week of time. All options were explored. Public cloud, again being regulated by RBI, it was a complete no-no. We said, okay, this is our bet. Let us go with the private cloud and we will deploy it. So within 2 weeks of time, somewhere around 100 virtual servers were deployed. That application was, developed, tested, and made it live. So somewhere in the mid of August, we were live with the beam, and that helped during the demonetization also. Apart from the rupee was over there. So that was the start of the cloud journey for NPCI. As of now, almost 70 to 80% of my product, be it rupee, be it bhim, be it UPI, and the ATM transaction, what we do, NACH we do, FASTag we see, these are all the products. Those all application servers have been hosted on the private cloud. And my role here is to do the adoption of the cloud more and more. So I am a firm believer of the hybrid cloud and the multi-cloud. So initially we started with X product for setting up a private cloud. Then we thought it's a world is moving towards open source. We have deployed open source based cloud computing also, and that's also helping us. And you are aware UPI is clocking somewhere around 1.6 to 1.7 billion a month now, and we are making that system ready for 1 billion a day. So that project is in pipeline, and very soon we will make it live, and we will have a capability to process 1 billion a day transaction on UPI. And when it comes to AI definitely we leverage for our fraud detection. Like rupee is our one product. I will share one example. Say for example, somebody is holding a rupee card. He is in Mumbai, but all of a sudden the transaction is happening somewhere in West Bengal or some other part of the country, right? So that card is tagged with the geolocation with the mobile number of the persons. So as soon as there is some variance in this one, like okay, mobile number is here, but the transaction is happening somewhere else, or all of a sudden somebody is doing a transaction in South Africa. So those kind of alerts are generated and intimated, and very well AI we use it in our fraud and risk module detection. So to us, cloud has become an enabler, and definitely AI is helping us to make customer or the nation serves better. So that's all from my side, Amit. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Surya. I must say, when I was working in my previous role as a technology for Citibank, I used to consider 18 to 20 million a day as being high in terms of volumes, right? And you made reference to 1.6 billion a day. I'm not sure that there are too many systems in the world which would come close to talking about the volume. So it really shows the excellence and the focus that you are maintaining on day-to-day operations. And again, the fact that you were able to put a cloud-based system in 2 weeks' time, entire end-to-end again in itself is very remarkable. So thanks for sharing those stories with us, Surya. There, thank you. If I may now, from a technology perspective, right, Vish, if I may just take a divergence, we are hearing from different sectors, right, in terms of how the cloud journey has been and how they move to AI and so has been. From your perspective, right, Vish, if you could maybe throw some light on how, right, multi-cloud or cloud natives are enablers for AI from a tools and technology perspective, with your experiences in VMware. That would be great. Please, over to you.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Amit. I think all the esteemed panelists earlier spoke about, whether it's Krishnan or Lokesh and Surya, everyone spoke about talking the business value. For every organization, they're looking at business value as one of the key aspects at the end of the day. Technology becomes an enabler. What I have seen, especially during these COVID times, all the organizations that most of the organizations that I interacted with are accelerating their journey towards modernizing the infrastructure. When I talk about modernizing the infrastructure, I'm talking about some organizations, if they're highly regulated, they're looking at hey, how do I build a cloud that is very much elastic and gives me all sorts of flexibility, and how can I get the best of breed tools? And similarly, some of them are looking at how do I go to a public cloud or a off-prem, right? So those are the areas that I've seen, and the most important thing is when I speak with customers, one thing that I've seen is that there are two challenges that most of the organizations are facing. Firstly, when you talk about the, not everyone is NPCI. Yes, there are customers who are kind of venturing into this journey. So they need some more hand holding. And now when you talk about, hey, hybrid cloud or multi-cloud, then where do you place the data? Because when you talk about AI is all about, you have all these diverse amounts of data, collected, whether it's from the IoT or the social media data, or even the data that is being generated within the organization. And this is a huge undertaking, in my view, right? So how do you hold all this data? That is one thing. And the second part of it is, now, if you were to get an organization to look at multi-cloud, obviously it requires not just adapting the technology, but how do you change the way how you're working, and how do you also look at enabling or upskilling your people? So that is another area I've seen where a lot of organizations struggle with. And one thing that that generally I when I talk to customers, there are a couple of things that I talk about. Yeah, even though I'm coming from a vendor, and VMware's vision is really about how can we empower people to access any app on any device from any cloud, and having to do this with intrinsic security as part of it in every layer just makes it easier. So so to me, the way how I see it is, in order to address those two challenges, one is you have huge amounts of data that needs to be collected, and where do you keep all this data, and how do you analyze this information? And secondly, how do you upskill your people, and how do you change the way you work? So there are a couple of things, right? One thing is, when you talk about multi-cloud, it's super important. Now people are talking about from data center to cloud to edge. So how do you provide a consistent infrastructure across off-prem and on-prem? That is the key aspect when someone is embarking on a multi-cloud journey. And how do you provide that consistent operations? You don't want your people, hey, I want to use the best of breed of AWS, Google Cloud, VMware, and everything, but I want all my people to know everything is not, again, possible. So how do you provide that consistent operations? When you talk about automation and operation across cloud, it has to be consistent. And most importantly, when you talk about developing all the AI models or developing an application which is consumer facing, how do you do this? How do you provide that handle to developers where they're able to write once and run it anywhere on that abstraction layer? So I would say having that extended, consistent infrastructure from data center to cloud to edge, and then consistent operations and consistent development models. These are certain areas where I always talk about. These are the things that customers should look at when they're embarking on this multi-cloud journey and AI.
Thanks for that. Thanks for those insights there, Vish. And Vish, I'll certainly come to you in terms of more details on, sharing some more details on the deployability element that you mentioned there. But before that, we could go over to, Tushar, who's kindly joined us as well. Tushar, thanks for joining us. Pleasure having you on board. Tushar, from your perspective, right, if you could share your views and your experiences in relation to deploying cloud and AI together as part of your solutions and products, please.
Thank you, Amit. First of all, apologies everyone. Somehow, with all the cloud and the simple calendar, sometimes simple calendar also doesn't pop up.
Right.
But for everyone, hello, and please take care of yourself in these unprecedented times. Having said that, cloud native and AI has become such a important piece and is becoming more and more important as the day goes along. I was reading about a huge AI and ML implementation that has been done by US to tackle COVID, where they put in IoT devices on the people who are either positive or asymptomatic positive, and they are able to figure out their oxygen rating readings on a hourly basis and are able to send an ambulance at the right time, so that they don't get into they're able to get medical attention properly. Coming to Z5, the experience that I want to share with everyone. You see, as a content and an entertainment platform, recommendation is one of the most important things that come in. And to give the right recommendation to the consumers is the key for engagement and discovery. And without engagement and discovery, OTT platform has not much of a meaning, and the consumers will just drop off after watching one video, two videos, or movies. The amount of data that we are generating right now goes to more than 10 to 15 terabytes on a daily basis, which gets ingested into, first of all, a machine learning tool which reduces the noise. After reducing the noise, you get into attention and you try to bring in, you have various goals and objectives, right? So all the artificial intelligence finally has to reach a particular goal and objective. And that goal and objective is to make sure that the newly acquired user keeps coming back to the platform and the old user keeps getting new and new content and gets engaged. With these objectives, cloud becomes extremely important, as you can, if you see the amount of data that I'm talking about, you can distribute that data and do various jobs and create a pipeline to achieve that particular objective. The why AI and machine learning is extremely important on cloud is because when you are sitting on the cloud, you have almost infinite capacity that is available to you. You have almost a lot of parallel work that you can do to achieve the real-time objective, even if the scale of your platform keeps growing at a larger, at a pace at which it is growing because of COVID, as far as for OTT is concerned. We have recently launched our UGC platform, which is Hippie, and there the challenge is completely different. A content is being uploaded by a consumer or a user directly. How do you categorize that content? And there were huge challenges that we faced when we had put in AI and image and NLP algorithms on top of that content which the users are putting in. First of all, India is diverse as far as language is concerned, and someone speaking in Telugu and English together, that itself is a issue to solve. So we finally figured out a way, which is we started throwing in content to the users in a closed group whenever a new content is pushed in, and rather than opening it up for the world, and start learning from the responses that the users are giving in that closed group, and then start giving it to a larger group and a wider group and a wider group and a wider group. And therefore, this is pure AI, right? This is artificial intelligence working to the best with machine learning supporting it. Machine learning is giving the real-time analytics to a artificial intelligence decision engine to say whether this video has to now move into a new group or not. And therefore, all of these are achievable easily through the cloud, because now you don't have to procure infrastructure. You don't have to figure out, I want a GPU based system to run an algorithm, or I want a CPU-based system to run an algorithm. And you are able to do the experiments fairly quickly. So that's what I wanted to share with the audience here.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tushar. Again, the insights there, Tushar, in relation to identifying how do you basically retain your customers, which again is certainly a key factor for many of the businesses and the panelists here. Thanks for sharing those insights with us, Tushar. So if I may now, Krishnan, go back to again to all the panelists for a quick round, right? Over a couple of minutes, a question there. So Krishnan, for yourself, right? I mean, it's amazing the variety of these scenarios that you're dealing with from an AI perspective, right? Whether it's manufacturing, whether it's robotics, right? Whether it's security related data, consumer data, all kinds of different data, right? So from your perspective, Krishnan, what sort of cloud model have you gone for, right? Is it multi-cloud? Is it hybrid cloud? You could just share some insights there for us. And what were some of your considerations, right, before going and embarking on a particular model? That would be great, please. Krishnan.
Sure. For us, the cloud was an easy choice, frankly.
Yeah.
Right? Given our volumes, the scale requirements, and you would probably know about our business enough to understand that there are peaks in the year when a lot of folks buy, right? That's part of the festival sentiment as well. And so the weeks preceding that is one of the most intense times in terms of everyone getting together across multiple businesses, functions, analyzing, perhaps over-analyzing, and obviously seeking to reach out to our millions of customers at the right time with the right offers. So AI and ML activity is very intense at that time, right? And so therefore we need the spike.
Sure.
And so therefore we need the capacity for that. And like Tushar just mentioned, there is arguably infinite capacity available on tap at a particular point for a particular price. And I think most companies, at least we have gone beyond the thinking of AI being on the cloud or not. It's very clear. The actual heavy computations are on the cloud for us. So we use primarily two cloud providers. I won't name them because I know this is not a brand name session, right?
Sure.
But yes, just to illustrate the point that we are multi-cloud. Moving data back and forth, not the easiest thing to do, but we do manage it because we just find that some things are working better on one cloud and some other things are better provision on some other provider, right? And the top providers are not just infrastructure as a service, right? They provide tools which also keep kind of competing with each other. Every quarter or every 6 months, one goes a bit ahead of the other. So it's always a pass and perhaps going towards a SaaS kind of choice that we have to make. And it's good fun in that sense,
Sure.
right? And our young expert teams also come back and actually show why a particular guy seems to have gone ahead of the rest. So we have to allow for that as well. But when it comes to edge and robotics, obviously the deployment of the model has to be local.
Sure.
But the model could be discovered on the cloud, and that's what we do. So short answer, but I think the cloud is it.
That's great. So thanks for sharing those insights there, Krishnan. So again, if I was to paraphrase that, right, the elasticity that you get, right, the flexibility that you get, the ability
Absolutely.
to, the ability to amalgamate different kinds of
Not only that. See, there is also a deployment consideration. The cloud providers have these tools kind of set up, right?
Yes. Yes.
So there are a lot of things which we don't have to worry about, right? What we've actually done recently is to build an ML orchestrator which speaks to our database, our data sets on one side, our data warehouse, and speaks to our campaign and our outreach systems on the other. So what used to be done manually in terms of running algorithms, getting outputs, and then uploading them is now one seamless engine. And in fact, the system itself tells us when its own confidence level it's in its own algorithm seems to be dropping below a certain level. So we have come to that point. The system will send an email saying, I think I'm getting less than 80%. So please have a look at me.
Sure. Certainly.
We have come to that point. Yes. Thank you.
Great. Again, that really seems like a great place to be, Krishnan. So thanks for sharing that journey with us. Lokesh, if I may, on to your follow-on question there. So, so Krishnan talked about, being on the cloud, being able to extract data to get the entire, if I was to put it very simply, right, put the entire AI ML process and life cycle on the cloud and making cloud native. Has that been the case from your side as well? Or is it more a case of where you still have some data off-prem whereas your engine would be, on the cloud. If you could just talk us through, what mix and match or amalgamation of cloud approaches you're doing right now, please, Lokesh. Thank you. Sorry, Lokesh, you're on mute. Sorry, apologies.
Sorry, that's bad on my part. So we were always cloud first. The organization never actually deviated from that thought process. We are currently multi-cloud, so obviously we understand some of the challenges around that. But that's a good problem to have if you are capable of migrating from one cloud system to another to identifiably do a particular set of tasks for which there are inherently better capabilities available on that. It is the sweet spot you intend to be as a platform. Right now, that particular bit where you have to pick up data from one cloud platform and process it to other, and then bring inferences and outcomes to a third place, sort of aren't there for us. We're trying to do at least the data bit part consolidation at one place. But that is going to happen for us also. I mean, there is enough amount of challenges and there is a significant lead some players for certain solutions have. So yeah, I mean, this orchestration which requires us to be cross-platform will going to be our next challenge.
Sure. And again, it seems like, Lokesh, you do have a good data point and a good person to go and have the conversation with offline. So in Krishnan, right?
Definitely.
So again, yeah, and I mean, again, all of us are here, and certainly available as well. Not to discredit anybody who's already also.
I think I know what Krishnan used. I will take it offline with him.
Thanks for that perspective, Lokesh. Thank you. Again, if I may, very quickly, I know we are coming to the end of our time, 5 minutes. So just one quick, minute from each and every one of the remaining panelists. So Surya, if I may just, give you a very targeted focus question. So, in the case of Krishnan and Lokesh, I'm presuming even for Tushar to a certain extent, the data privacy, right, might not play as strong a role, right, as it would be from a financial perspective, right? So given your focus on the financial side with UPI and all that stuff, I'm presuming data privacy would make a stronger case. And how has that impacted, right, your cloud journey, Surya, and your considerations moving on to multi-cloud and cloud native? Please, Surya, over to you. So you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Amit. Yeah, right. So like your point is absolutely valid. When the regulators see NPCI is seen from a different lens. When regulators see a bank, that is a different lens. Like, and the logic behind that is if NPCI is compromised, the whole nation is compromised. If SBI is compromised, only SBI is compromised. I'm taking an example because SBI being the largest bank we do have.
Sure.
However, for UPI, we are getting a request from our partner banks that we want to run our UPI switch in a public cloud. Can you support it? We said yes. Till the time you qualify our norms, like we do have certain checks and balance that anybody who gets onboarded for UPI, that is a must. Be it Facebook, be it WhatsApp, or anybody else, right? Yes. So now, like UPI as a platform, it used to be a cloud native, cloud ready. Now we are making that environment for the container ready. But going to a public cloud, still we do have a regulator. No, we don't have a green signal from the regulator. And that is the reason still our more focus is on the private cloud. However, we have done certain benchmarking using the public cloud also. So functionality wise or the technically it works very well. It's just the buying of the regulator and the member board bank we do have, and we are all set.
Great. And so it looks like you're much ahead in terms of cracking that nut of going from private off-prem to on-prem and public. So yeah, we'll certainly be glad to pick your brains, as they say, offline and have some conversations around that. So yeah, so with that, I'll just
thank you.
Yes, thanks for that, Surya. Vish, maybe Surya, talked about a great example here of looking to enable containerization in cloud. Maybe you can just share with us very quickly your experience in that area and or 3 considerations or 2 considerations that somebody should look for in this paradigm.
So
Vish, thank you.
containerization is something that so far, if you have seen in the last couple of years, or probably last 2 decades, a lot of enterprises moved from physical to virtual. Now the next big wave is containerization, because it provides you with that portability, and it just makes everyone's life easier. More, when you talk about developers trying to do a ton of stuff around the plumbing pieces which they are not hired for. What at least I'm seeing, for example, just to take a classic example, DBS, this is something we've been working with very closely. And I know you work for DBS, so this is a very well-known story. But the point there is DBS decided to go from buy to build. They wanted to build software in-house, and they want to use all the modern practices to, especially the mission-critical workloads. So it's a journey, right? It took DBS about a couple of years to start with some least critical applications, and now they are moving completely all the most mission-critical workloads, be it talking about digital bank, and be it talking about the whole API. So everyone is looking now at API first, and containerization. But the way how I see it, and what we recommend to customers is you start with an application that actually is important for the business, and it's a journey where you don't have to throw away all your IT that you built over the last 10-15 years. Gradually do this. So we do talk about this thing called app modernization, where there are multiple strategies that you follow, where we talk about this thing called 5 Rs. Not every app that needs to be cloud native. Certain times you could look at just rehosting them into a container, or you could think of rebuilding something from scratch, depending on the need and the criticality of how business sees it, right? So my probably, if I were to kind of crystallize this, it's a journey, and start with something that is important for the business, and you don't have to throw away everything. Look at taking out, modularizing some of the key components, and then start containerizing them. When business starts seeing the value, then slowly make them also part of the whole journey. It's not like no longer is like IT would go in a silo fashion and do this on their own. Having business and IT together working, then that is where you can drive the outcomes.
Great. Thanks for sharing those views with us, Vish. Thank you. And Tushar, if we could just go to you for a quick, soundbite there. Tushar, you mentioned about these high, volume big data systems, right? Which you have, which you're operating on a day-to-day basis from an overall AI ML perspective as well in the cloud. So how have you been able to crack the performance nut, right? Or the performance challenges that somebody can face in a scenario like this? Maybe you could just give us maybe 2 or 3 considerations, right? Top 3 considerations somebody should look when they're building a high performance solution in a multi-cloud cloud native approach, please.
Very, very simple as far as any big data piece is concerned. Remove noise, remove duplicates, and differentiate data from hot, warm, and cold. So see, basically what happens is you don't need everything real time, right? And first you remove all the noise fairly quickly. There is where you will need machine learning algorithms rather than AI. The second place is where you remove duplicacy, because the same data can come from various different sources. So you reduce that. And then the third thing that you do is to divide into hot, warm, and cold. Process the hot as quickly as possible. You will have to spend money for that. And depending on what kind of use cases you have, whether your algorithms are going to run on GPU, more money, CPU, slightly less. But once you have decided that, and you need to do that for every use case that is coming in. So your data flow has to be defined as much in advance as possible. But this is the trick, basically.
Sure. That's great, Tushar. Thanks for sharing that insight with all of us. If I could just quickly, before I summarize, Bhavna, over to you. If there are any questions from the audience, Bhavna, for us.
No, so Amit, right now, no questions. I believe every time you are moderating, you've done the length and breadth of the topics. So, I'm sure I'd leave that up to you, Amit.
Thanks for that, Bhavna. Thanks for those kind words. So again, guys, if I was to summarize, right, the entire conversation, and I'm really, really thankful and grateful for the panelists for all the contributions here, right? It seems like, multi-cloud and cloud native and AI are pretty enmeshed, right? If in some organizations they are there to a much higher level, as in the case of Krishnan, where he mentioned that in his case it's pretty much across different landscapes, right? Whether it is IoT, whether it is robotics, whether it is surveillance, it is consumers, across different landscapes they are enmeshed. They are there. AI and ML is pretty much being driven out of the cloud. It's there right now, right? Whereas in some other cases, in the case of NCPI, the journey is ongoing, but then they have other regulatory and other considerations from a data perspective, right? So they have to tread carefully, as they say, and get everybody on board, right? Which then leads to the point that Vish was making, which is don't rush into your AI journey on cloud, right? Or other way around, right? Your cloud journey on using AI or for AI, because it is very key to ensure that your partners are moving along with you, your people are moving along with you, right? Your technology providers and also your technology stack is ready to be migrated and your infrastructure is ready to be migrated. So it's very good and wise to be along each of those three axes, having a phased approach and then go in with that, right? And finally, to Tushar's point there, garbage in is going to lead to garbage out. So you might have the best infrastructure, you might have the best solutions, you might pay the highest amount of money to anybody and everybody, right? But if you're not really filtering your data, you're not making sure your data is kosher, as somebody might use a term, then you garbage out, so the best solution is not going to help you. So again, make sure that your data is the focus and you are focusing on making sure your data management practices are sound and robust, right? And again, to Lokesh's point, it is a journey, right? He himself and his organization itself is working on it. And the key here is ensuring that the right focus is maintained with the right levers in place. Thank you all for your time. Great conversation. Thank you for joining in and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Lokesh, Tushar, Krishnan, Amit, Surya. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we now conclude with the panel. Thank you all to our eminent panelists for joining us right now. And we're now going to be doing a playback of let's watch one of the videos of one of our sponsors partners. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Bhavna.
Thank you, Varma.